The face you see here was a face of a woman who was scorned, torn, and played for a fool. Now this is the face of revenge. Okay. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel Reviewed, where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So I wanted to come on here and do a brief recap of The Chi, episode 5 from season 8. So, in the beginning of the episode, we get this moment between Nuck and Tiff. They are having somewhat of a heated exchange, and Nuck basically tells Tiff, like, you don't trust me, so it don't even matter what I say to you at this point. And Tiff admits that she does have some uncertainty when it comes to trusting Nuck. And she was like, you don't want to tell me what's going on, So they're going back and forth, and, Tiff is like, what is going on? And so Nuck had the opportunity to confess his sins to Tiff like he did to Pastor Zeke. However, he went on ahead and just told Tiff that he made a deal, with the policewoman, and basically was telling Tiff that, you know, he made the deal in exchange for his safety. And of course, Tiff is not feeling that. She was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I didn't know I was dealing with a snitch.
You either trust me or you don't.
I don't know if I do.
Well, you don't love me no way, so why do you care?
Stop acting like a bitch.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, nigga.
If you don't trust me, I don't trust you either.
Fine, I trust you.
No.
So Reggie and his goon are across the street from Nora's house. They are watching Nora. Okay, so I'm not surprised that Rosalind sent someone after Nora. I'm surprised that it was Reggie. Okay, so I didn't see the two of them linking up. However, that is the case, right? So unfortunately, this was the whole situation that Shad was afraid of. When he went to see Nora last week, he told her, you need to watch your back, because the fact that you took money from someone and then you ended up changing your story, he was like, you putting yourself in harm's way. That's how these Chicago streets work. So he wanted Nora to watch her back, and she ended up getting popped in the back.
Don't miss.
I never do.
We get this little cute dinner moment between Shad and Patience. They seem to be getting really cozy with one another. Patience lets Shad know that she has an 11-year-old son. And, Shad is like, well, when do I get to meet him? And Patience was like, you got to meet his daddy first. She was like, we co-parent together. However, when it comes to us introducing our son to other people, we have to get the other person's approval. She was like, so you will have to have a meeting with him if you want to meet my son. And, she also let Shad know that he's going to be the first guy that she introduces her son to. So later on in the episode, we do get a moment where Shad meets Patience X, and he seems like he's an a-hole. But in actuality, he was just giving Shad a hard time, and he seems to be accepting of Shad and Patience's relationship. Emmett catches his son Devontae watching adult entertainment on his cell phone. And of course, Emmett freaks out. He was like, what are you doing watching stuff like this? You're too young to be looking at stuff like this. So he takes Devontae's phone, and later on he has a conversation with Keisha like, Devontae, I caught him watching XYZ. He shouldn't be looking at things like that. And Keisha was like, look, these kids are exposed to way more stuff than we were at that age. She was like, you're going to need to have a conversation with him. Have you had the conversation with him about the birds and the bees? And of course, Emma was like, nah, ain't nobody really talked to me about it. And so Keisha, she's advising him on, the route that he needs to take in reference to having a conversation with Devontae. She was like, he needs to make sure that he understands and knows what consent is, and also, find out what he is into, don't just assume that he's into girls. So, Emmett is like, basically, it's time for him to put on his father pants on, okay? Because this is something that he's going to have to address, since he saw his son watching folks get it in, okay? So Lene is at home, and, she's listening to the recording again, the whole situation with Nuck and whatnot. And then she hears these gunshots outside her home. So she is frightened. Okay, so she decides to text Bakari and ask him to come over to the house. And of course, Bakari obliges. Once he gets there, you know, they don't really do too much talking. They end up cuddling or whatever else they was doing. And so once everything has calmed down, they're laying in the bed talking and telling each other that they miss each other. And so, of course, Bakari's like, so what does this mean? Do I get to move back in? And Lene was like, I don't know yet. So she's playing games with Bakari at this point. She was like, he was like, you need somebody here that's going to protect you. It's just like Papa live here. And he was like, man, Papa ain't going to do nothing. So, Bakari is just trying to figure out what is going to happen between the two of them. And we do get to see later on in the episode, it seems as though Bakari has moved back in, but he and Lene are not together. She is making it clear and letting it be known that you are just living here, but we are not in a relationship. Keisha and Riley are in the kitchen, and Riley's cooking. Keisha is filling Riley in on the whole Devontae situation. And Keisha tells Riley, we took his cell phone. I'm thinking about reaching out to his friends' moms to see if they would be interested in joining the bandwagon, like taking their sons' phones as well. Of course, Riley says that she knows Patience, so she's going to reach out to Patience. Riley also mentions to Keisha that she had a friend who took their child's phone away from them and kept it until they were 17 years old. Um, so while they're having this conversation, Keisha just tells Riley that she really appreciates her and all the help that she's done, for her and the family and things like that. And they just have a really cute heart to heart moment.
I know everyone is still grieving, and I can never replace Emmett's mom. But I really am grateful to be a part of this family.
You've been a wonderful addition.
Emmett and Vic are at the cigar lounge having a drink. And, Vic asked Emmett, he was like, how long you think Tiff and Nut gonna be together? How long you think they're gonna last? And Emmett was like, who wanna know? And he was like, I'm just, just asking. And Emmett was like, man, look, it is what it is. And so they get into the conversation about when Vic and Tiff kissed and when Vic let Emmett know. And Emmett was like, I ain't gonna lie, I felt the way. It made me feel, all kinds of ways. And Vic was like, I could tell, like you was drinking and everything. And they, kind of laugh it off. And Emmett says to Vic, he said, well, I just wasn't sure that you were into, that Tiff was your type, seeing as though what you dated in the past. And Vic just flat out tell him, he said, I'm attracted to women, period. Basically, like whatever form they come in, if they a woman or whatever, that's what I'm attracted to. And Emmett was like, okay, cool, whatever. And Emmett does tell Vic that he's going to propose to Keisha. Vic congratulates him, saying that's dope or whatever. And Emmett makes a comment. He's like, I was thinking about proposing to her here. He said, but I wouldn't feel right proposing to my future wife in my ex-wife establishment. And Vic was like, yeah, nah, that's not a good idea. Emmett ends up having a necessary yet somewhat uncomfortable conversation with his son about the birds and the bees. And honey, when I tell you he had all kinds of questions, he had all kinds of questions. And Emmett just told him, hey, you got to always make sure that you have a woman's permission or whoever permission. And the son was like, what you mean whoever? And was like, just in case you ain't into a girl. He was like, Dad, I like girls, like I'm not gay or whatever. And so Emma was like, okay, cool, but you always want to make sure that you have your partner's consent. He was like, even if y'all are in the process of getting it in and she tell you no, you have to stop. And the son was like, well, what am I supposed to go do then? He said, go cool off. Go do something else. He was like, you always want to make sure that you have consent. So I do like the fact that this conversation consisted of him letting his son know that you have to have a woman's permission or whoever's permission before anything transpires, and that even if you get a yes, in the event of a no coming after that yes, you're supposed to just leave it alone. But he also tells his son about his hand or whatever, and the son was like, so if I have any more questions, can I just come to you about it? And Emmett was like, yeah. But you could just tell it was just weird for the both of them. And again, Emmett said that he didn't necessarily have anyone teach him about the birds and the bees or whatnot. So the fact that he was able to open up to his son and have this conversation, I thought it was really dope. Keisha and Emmett end up meeting up with Devontae's friends' moms, and they were able to convince them to take their kids' cell phones. So Keisha tells them that they are going to keep Devontae's phone until he's 17. Patience was like, oh, okay, that time will go by fast. This will give us a chance to reconnect with our kids and for them to connect with one another. And honey, when I tell you these children were going through withdrawals after those phones were taken from them, they did not know what to do with themselves. They was reading books, playing puzzles, trying to figure it out. Like it literally was like they were in some type of rehab that they could not function without those phones. And even Devontae's friends was mad. It was like, you the one that got in trouble. I told you to delete that stuff from your browser and not to get caught. Like why do we have to be punished for the stuff that you did? So it was just crazy. Can you imagine if people actually did this in real life, for real, for real? Like, girl, ain't no telling how many kids be around here trying to pop their parents for taking their cell phones, like because they are literally addicted to those phones. And this was a good example when you saw these boys literally not understanding what life was without their cell phones. It was hilarious and sad at the same time. Lene shows up at the lounge in search of Tiff, and of course, she's not there. And so Vic, he kind of senses that Lene is a little anxious. And, Lene is like, well, when is she going to be in? She started asking some questions. And he was like, I'm not sure. He was like, you need somebody to talk to. I'm right here. And Lene was like, no, I really want to talk to Tiff. And he was like, if you, really feel like you need to talk to somebody, you could trust me. So Lene finally warms up and she ends. She plays the recording. And of course, Vic is dumbfounded. And he is like, where did you get this? And, Lene lets him know that she got it from Kenya. And of course, Lene is still kind of hesitant about the situation. And Vic says, can you send it to me? And, because he's like, Tiff needs to know this ASAP. Like, we do not need to keep this from her. She needs to know what's going on.
How'd you get that?
Can you send it to me?
Can you send it to me?
Can I trust you?
She needs to know.
I tried to tell her who Nuck was, but she didn't listen to me.
She will not have a choice once she hears this.
When I tell you Vic ain't waste no time going to run tell that, he did not. He pulls up to Smokey's. Emmett is in the kitchen, kind of rehearsing, going over how he gonna propose to Keisha. And Vic was like, man, we need to talk. He was like, I know you got a lot going on. I'm not trying to add no stress to you or anything like that. He was like, but this is what happened. And so he lets Emmett know that Nuck is the person who popped Rob. And of course, Emmett is like, are you serious? He's like, for real. And, Vic lets Emmett know that he's looking for Tiff because he got to give her this information. Emmett says that he has to be the one to let Keisha know what happened because, of course, Keisha and Nuck have a son. And honey, at this point, it just seems like everybody running around trying to snitch. Okay.
What the hell is this? A snitchathon? Man, there's snitches everywhere. They under the bed too? How about the closet?
We get this moment between Reggie and Jake. Jake is at Reggie's house. He is like, I want you to leave Bakari alone. He don't need to be working for you. You need to cut your ties with him. And Reggie is making it seem like Bakari sought him out when we already know that it's not the case. Like, you ran up on Bakari. You gave him product to push. He pushed it. You gave him money. He took more product for more money. So don't make it seem like Bakari sought you out because that's not the case. So, Jacob's like, that's my brother. I don't want him working for you. And Reggie's like, I'm your brother. He ain't your brother. And he was like, Bakari is my brother. And Reg was like, but I think Reg said something to the effect of, I'm your brother by God. And Jake was like, more like the devil. And Reg was like, even better. So they have a heated exchange. And, Jake basically really knows how Reggie really feel about him and his brother Vic.
But you want to know what else? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about Bakari. I don't give a fuck about Trent. And I really don't give a fuck about you.
Now, as much as I do not like Reg, in that moment after he basically made it seem like he don't give a F about his folks, I felt that he regretted saying that. Just this look on his face alone, it almost made him humanized. You know what I'm saying? Like Reggie, just one of those ain't ish Negroes that just don't care about nobody but himself. And when the fact that he was able to say that to Jake and, basically kick him out the house, the look on his face after he said that, it made me wonder if he regretted uttering those words. But at the same time, Jake did need to hear that. Again, Reggie ain't nothing but a bully, especially when it comes to Jake. But I think that for Jake, it was just proof that Reg, he don't mean nobody no good. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't care about nobody but himself. But in this moment, I will say, just that look on Reggie's face, I felt like maybe he did regret what he had just said to Jake. Darnell and Riley take the kids out for the evening because this is the night that Emmett is supposed to propose to Keisha. So they take the kids to the arcade and they seem like they are having a lot of fun. You got Earth, Wind, and Fire playing in the background. Sidebar, have y'all seen the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary on HBO Max? It was so good. It was amazing. Maurice White he was just that dude. He was, oh my God, he was brilliant. But anyway, they are at the arcade having a good time, and I noticed that the little girl that Devontae likes was at the arcade, and they was doing the little, one of the little games together that they dance on. And I was like, now I'm wondering if his little dream's about to be crushed, because I wonder if the girl is going to want to give him her phone number, and now he ain't got no cell phone to call her on. So Shad and Patience are having dinner with this couple. And before this dinner took place, we got to see Shad meet Patience's son. And honey, Patience's son was just like his dad, was trying to give Shad a hard time, but ultimately warmed up to him. So it seems like everything is going to be cool on the home front when it comes to Shad and Patience and her son. But anyway, they're having dinner with this couple. And of course, the blonde hair, that's the one that gave Patience the information about Nora, when Patience was working to get Shad and Vic out of jail. So, she's talking about how her and her dude met, and then, they go into a small conversation about how Shad and Patience ended up meeting. And while they're having a conversation, they start getting these notifications on their phones. And so Patience ends up turning on the TV, and this is when they find out what happened to Nora.
A local woman from Chicago's South Side has been shot and killed inside her own home. Chicago police responded to a call from the victim's neighbor. The woman has been identified as Nora Howard. She ran a local candle business right outside of her home, where she was pronounced dead by local police. And at this time, no suspects have been identified. This is Milt Wilson, back to you.
Vic goes over to Tiff's place, and Tiff is laying her baby down. And, Vic is like, you look so beautiful. And she was like, is that why you came over here to tell me how beautiful I look? And he was like, no, I got something serious, to tell you. And he's like, you may want to sit down. And she was like, I'm cool. I could take bad news standing up. And he was like, not this news. And she was like, what's wrong? She's getting worried. And this is the moment where Tiff finally finds out that Nuck is the person who sent her baby daddy to be on a permanent vacation with the Lord. Okay. So Vic plays the recording. And immediately she's distraught, and she is somewhat angry with Vic. She was like, why you ain't tell me? And he was like, I just found out, so I brought this information to you immediately. And ma'am, he sure did. Okay. Like he literally did not waste any time. But anyway, you could tell that Tiff is like probably thinking to herself, like, I've been sleeping with this mofo who knew that he is the one that took my child's father up out of here. And I will say for me, because Vic does ask her, he ends up asking her, what does she want to do about it? And I was like, at first I thought she was going to wait it out, like try to play it cool. But baby, she did not.
Who sent you that?
Does it matter?
How long have you had it?
Not long.
Then why you ain't tell me sooner?
I came to you as soon as I got it.
I knew I couldn't trust him.
What you gonna do?
We finally get the proposal between Emmett and Keisha, and it was real cute. Okay, Emmett had everything set up. He had Keisha's favorite snacks. He had photos of them as kids and just moments throughout their relationship. The two of them, they tell each other what they mean to one another and what they look forward to. They end up proposing at the same time. And, Keisha, she ends up giving Emmett a watch, and Emmett gives Keisha a ring that belonged to his mom. And I was like, oh my God, that was so cute, just how everything played out. But unfortunately, the way this episode ended, I'm wondering what's going to happen if we're going to go back to this moment and then Emmett is going to end up telling Keisha about the whole situation about Nuck and Rob because, we didn't get to see him tell her. Honey, when I tell you Tiff did not waste no time, she did not. She was just as impetuous as Nuck was when he took out Rob. So Nuck comes in the house. He's yelling out, "Hey, Tiff, where you at?" And she's like, "I'm upstairs." He goes upstairs, sees Vic and Tiff standing in the room, and he's like, "What is going on?" Baby, she pulled that trigger on him, pop, pop, twice. Drop. He dropped straight to the ground. And I'm telling you, I was surprised that she did it. And, we see Vic, he ends up moving Nuck's body. I'm wondering what the aftermath of this is going to be. Because like I said, Emmett did propose to Keisha, but he did not get to tell Keisha about the whole situation with Nuck and Rob. And now Nuck is gone. I'm wondering how this is going to play into the next episode. Like how are they going to explain this away to Keisha? Because again, it's just a messy situation, and I get it. Nuck got what was coming to him. Okay, he played in Tip face. Heck, he played in all they faces. You know what I'm saying? And I think a part of that was remorse for what he did. But at the same time, you can't right your wrong by being with the guy's baby mama. Like he was just out of order for doing that anyway. Getting with Tip. But it's just like her and Keisha have such a good and close-knit relationship. What did Vic do with his body? Are they going to put his body in a place where they can just pretty much say anybody, did whatever to Nuck? Like, are they going to try to blame Reggie for it? Like, it's just so many scenarios that they can go with now that they didn't got Nuck about the picture. But my main thing is, what's the relationship going to be like between Keisha and Tiff? Because even if Tiff does not admit to doing it, Keisha probably will figure it out because they've been around each other for so long. They sister wives, okay? Let's be clear. So it's just like, how is this going to make Keisha feel if she does find out that Tiff is the one who took out Nuck? Is she going to be understanding because of what Nuck did to Rob? But it's just like, oh, because Keisha's son. So it's like both of their sons are left without their father. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's crazy. I don't know. I can't wait for the next episode. That I do know. Okay. And we shall see. We shall see. Well, that's all I have for you guys in this video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.